currently I'm getting some coaching with Hinsa, which is the similar company which does a lot of Formula One coaching stuff. And it's all about the holistic lifestyle and
So this is a company that coaches professionals,
yes,
just like life coaching and professional development coaching, soft skills kind of stuff?
So it's probably more of a holistic coaching. So looking at your core, looking at your energy, looking at your nutrition, looking at your physical health.
Wow.
So it's
very
a
wholesome.
very holistic approach. So rather than just focusing on like career choices or one kind of life coaching kind of aspect, it's more of how as a person you can develop more. And I think this all started from Aki Hinsa, and then a lot of Formula One teams use it now. And then the whole philosophy, even in Formula One world now, is it's not about just Lewis Hamilton. It's actually about the engineer who works in the paddock with Mercedes. His health is more important than probably Lewis Hamilton's health, because the decisions that has to again happen in that fraction of seconds comes from the entire team. And if every team member performs at a highest possible level, then obviously the driver will win the Grand Prix. So I think the lot of focus has now shifted to this kind of holistic training. And the concept that I came across through this whole journey now is called as SISU.
SISU.
Yeah, SISU. So it's very
SISU.
Finnish concept. It's very cultural, kind of, which is very kind of very. If you speak to any Finnish person, they will understand. But outside Finland, it's not very popular yet. But the whole idea is it's about, say, the simple idea of SISU is when you are drowning under the water and you're trying to get to the surface. So in order to get to the surface, you need grit. So everybody knows grit. And so
Grit, like G-R-I-T.
G-R-I-T, grit, yeah.
Like
so
that kind of resilience and strength to go through tough times.
The difference between the resilience and grit is obviously you need a grit to kind of go through a difficult period to come out on the other end.
Yeah.
While the resilience is something which is, once you had a traumatic experience, then you still need to keep going. And that's your resilience.
Wow. So grit is surviving the, I guess, trauma we can call it, and resilience is bouncing back from it afterwards.
That's right.
That's a really nice distinction. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah,
Right.
and the SISU is in between the grit and resilience, where is that kind of momentary thing which happens between you're under the water and you come on the surface. So what happens in those kind of moments in between, that's your SISU.
Whoa.
And that's very interesting kind of, or a simplified way to put it through, but it's obviously quite more complicated than that. But that's kind of your SISU. So and then one of the Finnish researchers, she's now doing a lot of surveys and a lot of trying to develop the tools and all those things. But if you look at our COVID pandemic and then translate this experience into what happened in the healthcare, you can potentially start understanding obviously the people who had grit kind of came through, but they used their SISU so much to get through this difficult period. They have to rely on this kind of momentary, every time they have to come back, and when they're hit against the wall, they have to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And we all kind of gone through that phase. And now what we are demonstrating is probably the resilience after that, having the significant trauma, we still keep pushing. But having too much SISU is also not good, because if you have too much of SISU, of that kind of momentary, every time you have to kind of keep pushing and you might actually end up in harming yourself, and that's where you get to burnout or issues about.
So is SISU a state of being?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a kind of way of being motivated to behave in a certain way. Wow, it's a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
But if too much of it, it's kind of like yin and yang. You need the balance of like being, I guess, well rested and not overly ambitious, like not grinding, not grit, not trying to do too much, and then also balancing the relaxation with the SISU.
And that's the whole idea about where the SISU also is important to understand when you need to stop.
Right.
And in medicine, this is one of the reasons I think what I gone through the journey, and I didn't understand that there is a time where you need to stop and say, I can't do everything, and I need to stop, no. And you can say no.
So what's an example in your life where maybe you should have said no? Or
I guess as a young specialist, when you are thrown off at multiple opportunities, you end up in saying yes to a lot of them, or probably everything, because you feel like, oh, if I don't say yes to this, then I will lose on something, or I might not get a job, or I might miss out on something, while my other colleagues will pick up this opportunity and they will just and in that kind of period, first 3 to 4 years of as a junior consultant, you end up in flogging yourself to death. So to the point that your workplace becomes your home, and the home becomes workplace, which is also equally bad. And I think that's where you need to understand the workplace is only workplace, and you need to stop. And then when you go home, that's your home, and then you enjoy the life outside. And I think that's the kind of biggest realization of after getting through this last 3-4 years.
Wow. But maybe in a way it was a good thing to have gone through that to get the realization.